continue, especially at the level of the legislature. Still now, because we're talking about courts, and this is something else, it has generated quite some interest, and I don't want us to ignore it because it involves your colleagues as well. MPs to sue hotel for kicking out woman representative. This happened in Kericho town over the weekend. 2 women MPs have joined Laikipia woman representative Catherine Waruguru in condemning a Kericho hotel that kicked her out for failing to produce a marriage certificate. And the questions people are asking, we always see these signs at hotels saying this establishment reserves the right of admission for whatever reason. Now, is it wrong that the hotel has come up with its own rules, that this is how we determine who to admit, who not to admit? Do you think that this is a matter that can actually go to court? The MPs have even suggested that it could require some kind of legislation. Because the argument is, that's on one side. The other argument is, with the kind of court rulings, court judgments being made by judges, even come we stay marriage is a valid union. It does not have a certificate, but does it raise issues that should actually be legislated upon or be taken to court? Senator.
This is a difficult question, but I think it's important to differentiate a few things. That the morality and the law is completely different. And I do not understand on what aspect that they intend to take against the hotel owners. Probably if the hotel establishment is a faith-based hotel or facility, then I would say that the church that owns the institution is morally bound to enforce certain moral standards, because they have, I would say, they have that in duty in society. And I also feel that we are getting this matter beyond or giving it the necessary consideration, because because I saw it on TV, there is a caveat. I don't know whether it's at the gate or whether it's at the door, that for you to be admitted, I don't know, I never read it because it was quite fast. It's like they are saying, if you are coming to this institution and you appear, then you must prove that you are married. So from a moral perspective, and since they are saying that, then the 2 people that and booked themselves into that hotel should also have found the conditions of admission to include the provision of a marriage certificate, and for that matter, they shouldn't have complied. And again, you say, any facility has the right of admission. Yes. So you must satisfy them or satisfy certain conditions for you to get admitted.
Do you think it's discriminatory to any level? Because there are some people who are married but do not possess a marriage certificate.
So let me let me continue. That's why, this is why I'm saying it depends on the procedure or the standards set by that establishment in terms of allowing admission. You may be married without a marriage certificate, because I believe marriage is not certificates. It's not about certificates. But if probably these people are able to present themselves before the management and explain themselves, probably they may not. Yeah, I think this is what they are saying. It is so depending on what the circumstances are, because the matter has to be determined on its own merit. Probably they may not have a serious case against the institution. But where I also find an issue is because when there exists some breach of certain contractual obligations between the Mheshimiwa and the hotel. Because when Mheshimiwa's ID card was taken and money was received by the hotel. The situation was that, yes, you pay me a certain amount of money for me to give you accommodation for that particular night. And there is one, when that was done, and the money was received and given a room number, and then these people went and came back later to be turned away. In my view, that's some breach of the contractual arrangement between the lawyer, between the members of parliament and the hotel. And
that would be the basis probably
we are just speculating.
Redress.
We do not know. You know, we are just speculating, we are just thinking. So unless the facts themselves are put before us to go through them and understand what really brought about the differences, it may be completely very difficult to really comment and objectively and advise or say this is the actual position.
But Anthony Oloch, from a legal perspective, is this a case that you would take to court, do you think? Because this is not the first establishment we've had that has such requirements for admission. Even here in Eastleigh, I understand there are a few like that. I've been to one where they require that. I think it's somewhere in Kitale. Do you think this is something you can actually take to court?
It is actionable, and I think the entry point is what he has said, alluded to, that the situation changed when somebody has already given you money, you have accepted and allocated a room, and then somebody has already altered their position by, for example, forfeiting the opportunity to go to another hotel. Consideration must be taken in terms of having decided we have been accepted here in terms of money as exchanged hands. Where do we go if you arrived there, for example, at 9 or at 10? I think these are issues that the hotel ought to have taken into account. Secondly, when you have already received somebody's money and said, we have accepted and admitted you to come in, what is the parameter that you're using in order to say you are married or not married? Because at the time when you're accepting the payment, the presumption is that you have already gone through that initial right of admission issues. One, are you, because marriage is not the only thing. Right of admission may be that if you're underage, for example, you cannot encourage underage 17-year-olds or 16-year-olds to go there with a partner. I mean, that would be offensive. It's against morality. Even the state would sue you. So the right of admission thing is a practice. Even if they didn't put it there, it is presumed to be. You have a right admission to citizen. I cannot walk into citizen premises and then say, I want to come in. You, citizen, reserve the right of admission. But I think where they seem to have offended these two couples, in my view, and remove even the fact that they are MPs, it's not that they are MPs. The fact that they allowed these people to alter their position and make the assumption that we have been admitted here and payment has been made. Take into account the time that they came. Where were they going to go? I think they caused them embarrassment, and that embarrassment itself is actionable. They will take into account the fact that these are public figures, so the embarrassment and the name itself that was put into this situation, I think are issues that the court will take into consideration. So I think it is actionable in law, but we have to take also into account what was just being beamed on the screen there, that even marriages is not about just marriage certificate. So that's why I tend to think there was more to it than meets the eye. Something else informed this decision, because from what I can read here, the member of parliament is saying they even removed their rings, because you don't walk with your marriage certificate. I keep mine under very strict lock and key. I don't expect to walk somewhere and somebody tells me that I don't think you're married and you have to prove. I have children. In the public domain, I have displayed myself as husband and wife, and you must presume in my favor when I tell you I'm married that I am married. I cannot have put this ring for nothing. And she showed the ring, and it has the engravement of the name of the husband. So I think that there was more to it than the issue of right of admission and the fact they were thinking that they were not married.
Okay, it is definitely one of those stories that have generated quite some discussion, because this does happen, and yes, a number of establishments have that requirement that they reserve the right of admission, and any couple seeking to get accommodation there must produce a marriage certificate.